are now locked in and listening to The Issue.
This guy is a franchise quarterback, and no, I don't want to hear any pushback on that.
It feels like a top 10 roster to me. It feels like it can win a championship.
This is The Issue.
Yo, what's up? We are back. It is The Issue, episode 249, here on October 31st. Of course, a Thursday, and this week it is Halloween. So, guys, happy Halloween wherever you are. We are going to partake in the festivities today a little bit.
I guess kind of.
Yeah, you wearing the jersey of a player that no longer plays for the Steelers, relishing in the good old days.
This could be Calvin Austin's jersey. You don't know. You can't see the back.
Turn around. It's a Juju jersey.
Okay, all right.
We're both wearing the jerseys of past.
You want to get obscure. Players. Who's on the back of your jersey?
Justin Schultz.
Yeah, Justin Schultz. Does anybody outside of the city of Pittsburgh know who Justin Schultz is?
Anybody who...
Who's he play for now? Washington?
Probably. Yeah, they probably know him. So, anyway, guys, it's Halloween. So, the show, we didn't even have a segment for Halloween this week.
Of course we do.
We're going to start things off like we normally do with Tim's rant, but this week he has the top 10 NFL teams to get to you. Then we will go into hits and misses there. And then after hits and misses, a little Halloween game, costume party in the NFL. Who is the biggest pretender? Who spent the most detailed costume?
Detailed costumes, scary costumes. Who's, kind of a fun little Halloween game to kind of also give you some opinions on some NFL teams. Good, bad, indifferent.
Yeah, so we'll do that to finish up the first segment, and then into the second we will have Week 9 predictions and Week 9 bets on a budget. So we'll cover it all today, guys. We're ready to go.
I'm staying alive in predictions, just barely. What am I, 3-5 now?
Yeah, you're 3-5. So okay, only down 2 weeks. That's not bad.
Not bad.
You were ready to press the panic button, but you've stayed the course.
I'm still, I don't know. We're still taking some big risks.
All right, well, we're
heading. How about that Cleveland plus 9.5 there? Are you kidding me?
That was crazy.
Kidding me?
Well, I agreed with it, but I didn't know it was going to be like that. So
I almost took him in predictions too. Did you give him the whole where iHeart, Spotify?
Yeah, watch it on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or Spotify, YouTube, and Amazon Prime Video. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and the iHeartRadio app.
There's like 10 more too you could even get into. Yeah, Rocket Casts and Pocket Casts.
There's so much.
There's too many. So we see some injuries start to mount up in the NFL. We're seeing some lucky wins, some not so lucky wins, right? We're seeing Hail Marys. This is peak NFL. I mean, did you see the witching hour on Sunday? It was unbelievable. You're talking last second field goals, comebacks, meltdowns. You got it all in the 1 o'clock window, and then the 4 o'clock window lived up to with the Bears-Commanders game. Just overall, fantastic Sunday of football. And so you're starting to see the teams separate a little bit, right? We always say week 1 or 2, bad teams don't know they're bad yet, right? Well, the bad teams know they're bad, right? Really, we know the Jets are bad, and I think the Jets know that they're bad. At least Aaron Rodgers seems to. He's talking about darkness already again, so they seem to know they're bad. You're going to start to see some sellers, like the Titans are selling off pieces at as we get closer to the deadline. So let's do a little barometer here. I'm actually going to start with the bottom 10 teams. We can argue order. I'll give you an order, but this isn't as particular as the top 10. I'm just going to throw out the bottom feeders of the league here, because then it'll kind of showcase the middle class as well. We'll do the bottom, again, the top 10. You'll kind of see who's in the middle as well by, process of elimination. So the bottom 10, I'll go bottom to quote unquote top. I think the Panthers and the Titans, you could pick your spot. Two awful teams, just bad quarterbacks. We don't know about their coaches, both first-year coaches. Doesn't seem to have a ton of direction. Both will be drafting a quarterback coming up. Then you have Saints, Raiders, Jets. To me, they're kind of all in the same bucket. Veteran-ish quarterbacks, right? Gardner, Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers. What do you do with them? You could even throw the Giants, who are next on this in this little ranking here, into that, where these teams probably should draft a quarterback, but they technically are committed to a quarterback for next year. All these teams are just flatly bad. I'd put the Patriots, Dolphins, Browns, Jags as, I guess, quote-unquote, the top 4 of this list. The Patriots at least show fight, right? Gerard Mayo comes out, calls them soft. They respond with a physical game, a better effort on defense. And Jacoby Brissett actually came in and looked good, although I have liked how Drake May has looked so far this year. Dolphins, they may be a little bit overranked on this. I just think eventually Tua will get back and kind of get back with it. I know they scored 25 points in a loss. this past Sunday to the Cardinals, but you would imagine they'd be better as the year goes on, as Tua gets more healthy. The Browns took them this long to finally start the best quarterback on the roster, and what do you know, they beat the Ravens. And the Jags, I know they're 2-5, but with a quarterback, or 2-6, I think maybe, with a quarterback that talented and that many skill position players on the outside, I think I would take them in a game against anybody that I had previously listed. So the Panthers, Titans, etc. So to run back through that, Panthers, Titans, Saints, Raiders, Jets, Giants, Patriots, Dolphins, Browns, Jags. You can argue the order, but these are just flatly bad teams, right? You hear Rodgers and you hear Jerry Jones going out, which the Cowboys are honorable mention. They're somewhere in the low 20s. You hear him coming out, well, it was our effort or it was our this. No. You're bad teams because you're bad teams, right? I think everybody else in the league, we could at least make an argument for, well, maybe on a given week, situationally, like, no. These 10 teams are flatly bad teams because they're poorly constructed, poorly coached, poorly quarterbacked, etc. Now the more important part of the list, the top 10 NFL teams. This isn't a quote-unquote show list. We'll give you our top 10 teams. Luke may disagree with some of this. This is just purely me. He didn't give any input. I sat here on my computer, typing everything out. This is my top 10 NFL teams right now going into week 9. Number 10, the San Francisco 49ers. They're starting to get healthy. You can see Debo starting to become more of a factor. George Kittle over the middle has been fantastic. You're starting to see growth. They're 8th in points per game. They're 2nd in yards per play. That's a big Vegas stat. They like to look at yards per play. And here's a weird stat. They're 5th in third quarter scoring. A lot of people say offensive coaches on a script are really good. Clearly, Kyle Shanahan's been able to make adjustments, come out in the second half much stronger than in the first half. Again, 5th and third quarter scoring. I love to see that from a coach who previously has been a little bit rigid on his game plan in the second half. And it's quite literal. If Brock turns it over, they lose. If he doesn't, they basically win outside of like one game against the Rams. If he turns the ball over, they're probably going to lose the football game. It really comes down to protecting the football for the Niners. Number 9, I would go with the Steelers. I know the offense isn't great. They're like 23rd in yards per game. They're like 17th in points per game. It's not great. Here are the things to like about Pittsburgh. They're 3rd in turnover margin. If you look at who wins the turnover battle game by game, that team generally wins. That's why the Steelers are consistently winning despite not having a great offense. Defensively, they're 7th in yards per game, yards per play, 2nd in points per game. And it's weird, they're 8th in first half points per game. Why is that important? Because this isn't a team that's built to come back from behind. They have to at least get within striking distance, keep it close in the first half to give themselves a chance, and they have. Eagles at 8. I would say my concern is clearly with their coaching staff, and they have to win the turnover battle. They're 27th in football there. So without a lot of help from that, right? Jalen Hurts turning the ball over. We question their offensive staff. Despite that, though, defensively, they've actually been sneaky good. They're 6th in yards per play. They're 7th in points per game allowed. So their defense has actually been quite stout. Again, and then on offense, they're 1st in rushing first downs per game. That's a big stat. Saquon's getting involved. They have a good offensive line. They're controlling time of possession from that standpoint. Eagles at 8. Slightly better because I like the quarterback and the offensive scheme better would be the Commanders at 7. They're 3rd in points per game. They're 3rd in yards per play. They're 3rd in rush yards per game. So they're through the air, on the ground, each play, getting first downs, moving the sticks. The Commanders are one of the best in football there. Defensively, I worry a little bit. They're 14th in yards per game. They're 10th in points per game. So not great on defense, but they're not bad. I just love that they give the ball away the least in the NFL. They are 1st in giveaways, the Commanders at 7. Your team here, the Texans at 6. You probably think they're too low. Is that correct? You think the Texans are a little bit too low at 6? My issue with the Texans is actually their offense. Despite C.J. Stroud's success, they're just not great offensively. They're 14th in points per game. They're 9th in yards per game. But here's why that hasn't been a problem. They don't hurt themselves. They're 4th to last, or I guess 4th best in penalty yards per game, right? They're not hurting themselves. And they're 7th best in giving the ball away. So they don't give the ball away much. They're not hurting themselves because they have not been a dynamic offense without Nico Collins. Tank Dell's been in and out. Stephon Diggs has been in and out. They're not hurting themselves. That's why the Texans landed 6th. This team I don't know what to do with. But at number 5, I'll put the Ravens. I don't know where they should go. They're clearly a fantastic offense. They're 1st or 2nd in every category. I'm not even going to go through them because they're 1st and 2nd in literally every offensive category that matters. First downs, points, yards. But defensively, they're just flat out bad. They're 26th in points per game. They're 25th in yards per game. They're 18th in takeaways. They're 23rd in third down conversions for the opponent. So they're not getting off the field. They're not taking the ball away. Their pass defense is anemic. I don't know what to do with this team because they're so dynamic. I love Lamar so much. He's a great head coach. But defensively, they're just poor. They're just not a good defensive team. Number 4, the Packers. I worry about Jordan Love's health, but regardless, even with Malik Willis starting 2 games and some change, they're 6th in points per game, 6th in yards per play. They're 2nd in passing touchdowns per game, again, even with Malik Willis starting for 2 games. I mean, this team is well-rounded. They're 10th in rush first downs per game, so they can run the ball. They can hurt you through the air. And defensively, under new defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley, they've been a lot better. Not great, but a lot better. They're 11th in points per game, but they're only 7th in second half points per game, right? So it's a little bit of bend, don't break in the second half when it matters most. They've been a lot better. They're number 1 in turnovers per game from a defensive standpoint. Their safety, Xavier McKinney, has, I think, 4 picks right now. Just unbelievable effort from the Packers defense. Number 3, the Bills. I know Seattle's overrated, but going on the road like that, cross-country, slightly shorter rest, the Bills able to trounce them like that, to me, I put a lot of stock in a win like that. They're tied for 1st in turnover margin. They're 5th in points per game. They're 9th in yards per play. Again, a big Vegas stat. I worry a little bit about the defense. They're 17th in yards per game, but they're only 6th in points per game. So it's bend, don't break. They're going to force you into a lot of field goals. And when you're facing a dynamic quarterback like Josh Allen, field goals have to turn into touchdowns. Buffalo's not letting that happen. Number 1 and 2, it's a weird mix-up because a lot of people would argue the Lions should be number 1, Chiefs should be number 2. I am a firm believer until they lose that spot, the Chiefs have earned that number 1 spot, so I'll keep them at number 1. Again, Lions at number 2. They're number 1 in points per game. They're 6th in yards per game. They're 4th in rush first downs per game. And sneaky right here, Jared Goff has a passer rating of 96 on third down, right? One of the best quarterbacks in football on the money down. You can bang on Jared Goff. He doesn't run around a ton. He's not dynamic. Jared Goff gets the job done from inside the pocket. And the Chiefs, they're top 10 in first downs. They're top 10 in yards per game. Points per game. Every major stat they're top 10 in. Are they number 1? Probably not. Usually not. But they are consistently top 10. They may be great nowhere, but they are really, really good everywhere. And defensively, they're fantastic. Top 10 in basically every major stat category. That is the list. Chiefs 1, Lions 2, Bills 3, Packers 4, Ravens, Texans, Commanders at 5, 6, 7, Eagles, Steelers, Niners, rounding out the top 10.
That's a good one. I have it all written down here. Okay, so
thoughts. Who do you think snubbed? Who do you think should be higher, lower, etc.?
I think after what I saw this past weekend, the Ravens and Texans would switch in my mind. I think I'd have Texans 5, Ravens 6.
Okay.
I like the Commanders at 7. Eagles, I could argue down a spot. I think the Steelers could be above the Eagles.
Okay. So now my question, you're telling me, I know the Ravens lost, but are you putting a little bit too much stock in the Texans, who should have lost that football game, fumbled the game away, guy returns it for a touchdown by a fingernail. Joe Mixon was touching him when he went down. They should have lost that game to Anthony Richardson, who completed 10 passes. 10 passes.
I mean, that's 2 bad games in a row, but I do think that Texans team is better.
I mean, they know how to win. I'll give them that. Yeah. I even wrote it down. I forgot to say it, but I think they're a little bit overrated, but they know how to win, that's
what matters.
Which you can say that about the Chiefs too, so that's fair.
Exactly, and I agree with you that the Chiefs should hold that number 1 spot, but it is hard not to put the Lions up there.
They've been so good. I see that. Now, granted, I also, again, I don't want to put too much stock in them beating the Titans because I just talked about how they were one of the worst teams in football.
But that's the difference. Like, between a Steelers team at 9 and a Lions team at 2,
the Steelers beat the Titans by like a touchdown.
Exactly. The Steelers somehow accidentally make it close. A good team crushes bad teams. That's what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, no, that's fair. There's my top 10. Agree, disagree. I don't know. Let me know.
I like it, man. Very, very good. But now we're going to transition. We are going to get into hits and misses. Let's go.
All right, hit number 1 here. This is the easiest one on the board. The Jets being an unmitigated disaster. I said it last year. I said I know that Zach Wilson's starting, so I'm not saying this is a judgment on Aaron Rodgers. This is what I said last year, of course. It's not a judgment on Aaron Rodgers and what this team could look like with Aaron Rodgers, but when you sign up for the AR-12 friends and family plan, this is what you get. You get Nat Hackett, you get Randall Cobb, you get Alan Lazard, you get an aging offensive line, you get a team that's not a very good team. And the problem with Aaron right now is that he's not good enough to drag that team to even the to even a winning record, let alone the playoffs, let alone the Super Bowl, right? So This is almost like, we don't talk a ton of NBA, but like LeBron was able to take kind of disparate parts because he was so great and still gets you to a finals. It didn't matter who your first guy off the bench was when LeBron was your star, right? Same thing with Jokic now in Denver. It doesn't really matter who your 6th, 7th, 8th guy is because your top guy is just that good. In Kansas City, it doesn't matter who their wide receiver 3 is because Mahomes is that good. You need good players around Aaron Rodgers because he's not good enough to be a Patrick Mahomes and drag Alan Lazard to the Super Bowl.
It's been underwhelming, and one of the best places to look back to see like kind of what they were trying to model it after is the Tom Brady experience, right? You see Tom Brady go to Tampa, win a Super Bowl. Well, let me tell you something. Can we stop basing our decisions based off of athletic anomalies like Tom Brady? Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback to ever play the game of football. What makes you think that Aaron Rodgers is going to magically work as well as he did?
And I would argue over the last 3 years, you want to even include a different model, same idea, but Matt Stafford to the Rams. I think Matt Stafford's been a much better player over the last 4 to 5 years.
Yes.
A much better player.
Yes.
Especially over the last 3. That's not even close. Not even debatable. Miss number 1 here. I've been tough on Deion Sanders, Shadur Sanders, Travis Hunter. Just too much noise, too much ego out of that program. But very quietly, look at them. They're 4-1 in the conference. They're 6-2 on the year. They are ranked 23rd in the country. And as of right now, it's a weak quarterback class. But there's an argument in terms of pure talent. Shadur is probably the best quarterback of this bunch. I still don't think I would take him like number 1 overall.
No.
I'd probably trade down if I was one of those teams that are in the top 1 or 2 and you're thinking about taking Shadur Sanders. But I have to give credit where credit's due. They're bowl eligible for the first time in like 7-8 years. Shadur looks good. Travis Hunter may win the Heisman. Deion has looked good. Good coaching staff. Warren Sapp has that defense playing well. So as much as I want to rip on them, got to be fair, they've looked really good over the last month.
That's fair. I think Shadur's a second rounder. Unless somebody gets really, really desperate, and there's a team that's super desperate, like Carolina or something. But I think Shadur's a second round pick.
I think he's a second round pick. But again, we've talked about this what were we talking about when I said here's what we should think should happen. Here's what
Dak will get paid.
Yes,
$60
Dak
million.
will get paid $60 million, right? I think Shadur Sanders is a second round talent. He will be a top 5 draft pick. Two different things. What I think should happen and what will happen. What unequivocally will happen is Shadur Sanders will be a top 5 pick.
Okay.
Sorry. Hit number 2 here. I wish our guy Kean would have been able to come on today. Anthony Richardson, his inability to just be an NFL quarterback is staggering to me. The talent is off the chart. Big, strong, can move, throws a has a really good arm. Doesn't necessarily mean throws a good ball, but has a big arm, big guy, can move, quick, athletic. But I said from the very beginning, can he do anything well actually at the NFL level? Can he layer a throw? Can he hit an out route? Can he hit a swing pattern? Can he hit a screen? Can he throw the ball downfield with touch? Can he read a defense? No. Can he get out of bounds on the last drive when you have to get out of bounds to stop the clock? Evidently not. Like, he does nothing well as an NFL quarterback. Not a thing. My question to you, how long does he get to prove something? Obviously, we knew he was going to be a project, but you have to show something, and he has shown nothing. I think how long does he get?
He gets to the end of this year and maybe a couple games into the next season. It depends on what kind of picks the Colts have and who's available.
So what kind of picks they have? They have 1 through 7 of their own pick. They haven't traded or acquired any picks of the upcoming draft. It's just 1 through 7 exactly where they're slotted. As of right now, of course.
I think they give him this season. So
now I would agree. Now they're already having discussions. 100%. Somebody in that scouting department has already looked at the GM and said, we don't think he's the guy.
Which is fair. And I mean, to be fair, he hasn't proved to be the guy. He has the intangibles. Great, good, cool. What are you doing with them? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
No, he has the tangibles. He hasn't shown the intangibles to control it. Yeah. Yes. Here's what I think they should do. We could sit here talk about problems all day long. What is one of the solutions? I would say go draft a Will Howard in the 4th or 5th round, right? The quarterback from Ohio State he's got 40 college starts under his belt. He's experienced, almost like a Brock Purdy, Kirk Cousins model, where Brock Purdy and Kirk Cousins were both drafted after quote-unquote generational talents, RG3. They thought Trey Lance was going to be really good. And then who ended up being the better quarterback? Right? Kirk Cousins, Brock Purdy did. Right. So do you maybe go get a Will Howard or a Riley Leonard out of Notre Dame? Somebody with a lot of starts, a lot of experience, workshop a little bit in the offseason. If it's really bad with Anthony Richardson, put them in.
You could, but I think they give him the season for right now.
Sure. Miss number 2 here. The Eagles, they're playing really well right now, and we expected them to kind of take a step back, and maybe in some respects they have. Jalen Hurts hasn't been quite as good. I have my questions about Sirianni, but the addition of Saquon Barkley has proven to be fantastic. I listed it earlier. They're number 1 in the NFL in rushing first downs per game. That is the Saquon Barkley effect. They absolutely trounced a Bengals team that I know their record's 3-5. That's a better team than a 3-5 football team. I know the defense is bad, and they beat up on a bad defense, but to hold the Bengals to 17 points, to put up 34, to run the ball, to control time of possession.
Huge.
We thought they were going to be a playoff team. Are they closer to a contender than we thought?
I think so. Don't count out the Eagles too early. And I saw the same stat this past week about the 49ers on Sunday Night Football where they start 3-4, something like that, and then the following back half of the season is so good.
Oh yeah, the Niners the last two
times
that's happened, they've made the NFC Championship.
Yeah, I do think that we are going to see kind of the pop of Philadelphia a little bit later this year. But, I mean, the Sirianni thing concerns me. You said you don't know how to feel it. I don't like Sirianni flat out. I don't think
I don't think he's very good. I don't think he's very good. If a better coach is on the market, I'd hire a better coach. I wouldn't just fire him without a plan, though.
Yeah.
You know, if you had Bill Belichick in the crosshairs, I'd fire him tomorrow.
For sure.
Hit number 3 here. I said it last year when Florida State was whining, complaining, bitching, and moaning about we're 12-0, we should be in the college football playoff. I said nobody thinks you're even a top 15 team, let alone a top 4 team. Give me a break. Mike Norvell's a fraud. The team outside of Jordan Travis last year was a fraud. They are 1-7. 1-7.
It's ugly.
DJ was awful. Their backup's not been good. Mike Norvell has now lost 3 wide receiver commits, 2 4-stars and a 5-star for the 2025 class. They have 0 wide receivers committed for next year's class. If Mike Norvell makes it through the year, I will be floored. And they just extended him, so it's going to be a hefty buyout.
That's wild.
I would be floored if he makes it through the season.
Yeah, Florida State is just a joke.
Bad coach, bad program, bad players. I don't like anything about Florida State. Didn't last year, don't this year. Miss number 3 here. Just when I started to believe in the Bears. How many years did I sit there and bang on the organization, bang on the coaching staff, and bang on Justin Fields? 2 or 3?
Yeah, I was here.
And I said, you know what? New quarterback. I liked the momentum of Eberflus in the defense last year, which they're still fine, even though they lost on a Hail Mary. They're still fine. The organization, is that the worst coaching job in the second half of a game
really
of
bad.
any game I've ever seen?
Really bad.
I mean, we're handing the ball to backup centers. Our guys are celebrating before the play's even over, before the play even started, while the play's going on. It's
talking shit to the fans.
I don't know who needs fired. Probably Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator. This has been one of the worst. You want to look at, and it's perfect that they lost to the Commanders too, because you want to look at a complete split of how to take a rookie quarterback and help them succeed. We have the Commanders who go get a progressive, young offensive coordinator in Cliff Kingsbury. They surround him with talent. They clever play calling, run games on point, offensive line looks good, defense is good. They're supportive of him. And then you look at the Bears, and it's just an unmitigated disaster. Here's what I would do. I would surprise them. Happy Halloween on a Thursday. When they go in for their meeting, right, when they go in for their offensive unit meeting, I would take everybody that's wearing a coach's shirt, and I'd hand them a pink slip and say, I'll see you never. Sayonara. Quarterback coach gone. OC gone. All the way down to the guy who pumps up the footballs for the offensive side of the team. I'd fire everybody that has offensive in front of their name. It was an unmitigated disaster. The team's embarrassed. Ryan Poles should be embarrassed. Everybody but Caleb Williams would be on the chopping block for me.
That's fair. That's so funny, though.
In fact, up until this point, I still held firm on the fact that I think they can get to the Super Bowl, like I predicted earlier, or the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, what are you thinking now?
I don't think they make the playoffs. With that coaching staff, I don't think they can win 2 more games with that coaching staff.
That's
awful.
It's bad.
Awful. Embarrassing.
It's real bad. There it is. There's hits and misses. All 6 of them. That one felt
fired
good.
up. The Bears fire me up.
I mean, you came in ready to rip the Bears to shreds today, to be completely
Honestly, if I didn't have a good list to put out there, that would have been my rant.
Yeah,
I could go for another 10 minutes about how bad that coaching staff is. I just piss poor. Piss poor.
Yeah. Well, guys, you can go check out all of Tim's previous fiery rants there on YouTube. They're all in his own category. You can go click Tim's rants on theissuesports.com. It'll take you right to that. But now, we have our Halloween game, our costume party in the NFL, if you will. We're going to do scariest costume, cheapest costume is one that we came up with. There's a bunch of categories. We're going to tell you what team fits where. Let's go.
Let's start with the most detailed costume, right? Who put the most effort into it? Who started shopping for this in July, right?
Right.
Everybody know those people that are like, in July, they're like, dude, I got a great costume idea. They've already bought the makeup. They got the shoes.
They made parts of it themselves. Like, they're doing a lot of sewing.
They've been bouncing around store to store, picking up a button there and a seam over here. That would be the Detroit Lions. This has been a slow build. You go get Brad Holmes from the Rams, their GM. Dan Campbell's biting kneecaps off. First year, they lose, they get crushed, but they're playing hard. You can see them making steps and steps and steps. Last year, they took a massive step forward, and this year, you can tell they are taking yet another step forward. And even down to the details, they're pitching the ball to tackles, and they're running the ball like better than anybody. That is a detail-oriented team that do the little things right. They win in the trenches. They do it the right way. Their quarterback isn't fancy, but he's detailed. He gets the ball out on time, in rhythm, to the right player.
He'll win the damn game.
That's the most detailed franchise and, well, maybe not franchise, I don't love the ownership, but the most detailed front office and most detailed football team this year and for the past couple years, the Detroit Lions.
Love it. I mean, I 100% agree. It has been astonishing what they've been able to put together this year, especially you could see it building the past couple seasons, and now I think this is finally the year. This is an NFC champion.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go ahead and go with a little bit of a negative one here. Let's go with the fakest costume.
Okay.
And that would have to be the New York Jets.
It's been bad.
This costume, it doesn't fit their personality. You know, you got a guy who's serious and he's dressed up as, Dumb and Dumber. Like, it's just, the costume is fake. It just doesn't look very good. Maybe they're going for some designer look, but they're wearing all fake designer, right? They're just a fake costume, and really, at the end of the day, it's just not that good of a look.
Got it off Temu.
It's a Temu type costume. It just doesn't look very good.
Yep.
And that would be the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers, they fire Saleh, an interim head coach. Nathaniel Hackett is masquerading as an offensive coach. Everything about the Jets just screams, we're fake. We are a fake football team.
Yeah.
We're going to do a bunch of talk, right? This guy definitely talked up his costume. Oh, no, I'm telling you, I'm going to be...
Boys, I got a good one.
It's going to look so good.
I got a good one.
And then they show up and you're like, you faked us all. You faked us all. And that's the New York Football Jets. Let's go to a positive one now. The scariest costume. Now, you may say, well, this should go to one of the best teams in football, and it will, the Kansas City Chiefs. And here's what's scary about the about the Kansas City Chiefs, is that they haven't played all that well.
No, and
their quarterback has more picks than touchdowns. His pass rating's in the 80s. Right? They've got some injuries. Their defense is good, or at least name-wise. Doesn't have a ton of big names. Chris Jones is about it. Meanwhile, they show up every single week and win.
Winning football games.
And so it's scary because what happens if they start playing well? What happens if D-Hop starts getting integrated into the system and he turns into maybe not the best receiver in football, but can he turn into a top 20 receiver in football? Maybe. Travis Kelce looked really good this past Sunday. He's starting to look back into his top 5 tight end form. What if they start playing up to their standard?
And they start blowing people out, and it's another Chiefs win.
Nobody's going to get even close. So that's why they are the scariest costume, because they're not even playing well, and they're still winning football games.
100% agree.
Let's go to the cheapest costume, and this goes hand in hand with the fakest, but the cheapest is, clearly you didn't spend any money. You went dumpster diving in your mom's closet. You're wearing... You
forgot about the party.
Absolutely. You're wearing things that are probably a size too small or too big, because, again, you're dumpster diving, you're thrifting. And that would be the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, we're going all in this offseason, Jerry. Really, you didn't spend any money, right? Derrick Henry was out there for the taking. Saquon Barkley clearly didn't mind signing with a divisional rival. You let him walk to your other divisional rival, right? All these, we're all in. We're all in. We're going to spend the money. We're going to do this.
It never pans out.
You didn't spend anything. Your biggest acquisition was a linebacker who's not very good in Eric Kendricks. You are the cheapest costume, the cheapest organization. And who do you pay? You overpay for Dak. You wait to pay CeeDee Lamb, which made no sense because you knew you were going to pay him.
Yeah.
Why would you wait? Because the price only went up, 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 and up. It doesn't make any sense. The Cowboys are by far the cheapest costume, the most flimsy costume, not good, don't look good. Nobody's impressed with your costume at the party.
Buttons are falling off, zippers are coming undone. It looks bad. The quality of it's horrible, just like the quality of this team. It's
They're closer to the bottom of the league than the top of the league,
glum.
despite people thinking that they actually are something.
Yes.
Let's just go with the flat out worst costume. I mean, just bad.
Worst dressed.
Like as if going for a ogre and you're blue, you look like a Smurf. Like you missed the mark completely.
Speaking of blue,
The Carolina Panthers. I mean, there's just, what do they do well? They're like, what? There's nothing that they do well.
they show up to the game. They show up.
They show up. You're right.
That's about it.
They show up. It's just, there's not much to say here. Worst dressed, top to bottom, start to finish.
Almost, and it gives you that taste in your mouth where it's like, okay. Like, they're the worst. How do they keep coming back here? How are you that bad dressed and even show up to the party? Like, how do you have the willpower to show up every Sunday and just get your teeth kicked in? It baffles me.
Yep, let's go with, every party has one of these. It's the blue-collar guy that just shows up in jeans and a vest and just says he's a PennDOT worker, right? Just says he's a construction worker, when in reality he just put on what he wears every day to his 7 to 3 construction job.
Most of the time dragged there by a girlfriend or
usually.
somebody.
And he's probably, instead of bringing a cooler, just carrying a 30 rack of his Miller, and that would be the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
They don't do anything fancy. Good defense, good run game. Somehow, some way, despite really not having a ton of talent, not being really up there in stats, they just keep winning. And not only does that fit the Pittsburgh Steelers, that fits the city of Pittsburgh.
Yep.
They are that guy that just shows up in boots and jeans.
They don't care.
Not fancy.
Don't care.
Again, like you said, probably dragged here by somebody, and they're just going to show up. They're probably going to have a good time, but they're not fancy. The costume's fine. The costume's average at best, right? They're just a normal costume.
That guy
Not fancy.
Always ends up getting the drunkest. Always ends up having the best time.
Weirdly good at beer pong, too. Weirdly good at drinking games.
Yes.
Right? Shouldn't be, but is.
Weirdly good at blocking field goals.
Yep, absolutely. And finally, let's go with the try-hard category, where nobody really expects much from them, but they show out. They tried hard this year. No, maybe it's normally that friend that used to be the cheapest costume, that used to be the fakest costume, and somebody called them out for it, and they said, you know what? I'm spending $200 on my costume this year. I'm innovative. I'm going to try something new, and that's the Washington Commanders. They had the cheapest, the fakest organization.
They were the joke of the party for the longest time.
They had the worst owner, the worst front office, a really bad head coach.
They changed their name.
Bad quarterback play. Quote-unquote offensive name, although I disagree. But that's besides the point. They change everything. They clean house. New ownership, new front office, new head coach, new quarterback, new name, although that was a couple years ago, but besides the point. And what do you know? It kind of worked.
Yeah.
It kind of worked. The try hard ends up working. Jaden Daniels is clearly effective and is clearly the franchise quarterback. Their defense is better under Dan Quinn. I love the offensive scheme under Cliff Kingsbury. Hell, even Marcus Mariota looked good in the system. The try-hard Washington Commanders have turned the ship around, and their investments and their quote-unquote try-hard nature has made their costume where they would be in the fakest category. They're in the try-hard, which is a lot better of a spot to be in.
It is. It really is. And they have looked good doing it, which is kind of, par for the course for that costume.
That's a fun little Halloween segment there. I love it.
I was going to say, I mean, what says Halloween more than trick-or-treating,
costumes,
and
pumpkins,
and equating NFL teams to costume ideas,
costume categories.
Guys, you've seen it all here on The Issue, and you're going to see more. Next segment, we're going to kick things off with our Week 9 predictions, and then finish off the show with our Week 9 bets on a budget. Welcome
back in. Happy Halloween, the 31st of October, second segment of The Issue here. Go back and listen. We had a little Halloween segment. Go through a little costume party, NFL team theme edition. And then, of course, we had hits and misses and a little bit of a rant to begin the show, kind of outlining some of the top 10 teams. Even discuss a little bit of the bottom 10, but the top 10 obviously being the most important. Here we'll have predictions and bets on a budget. Coming off a couple winning weeks, we are feeling it. We are well above the sharp line, around that 60% mark. So we love to see that. Make sure that you're checking out those bets. They'll be posted on social media as well, which reminds me, go to the website, iHeart, YouTube, iTunes. I run out of, I forget however many platforms are on. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon. Watch, listen, download, like, subscribe, rate, review, all of that. We appreciate it.
Yeah, there you go. He's not lying. We do have a ton of different platforms that you can stream the show on. So go check them all out. TheIssueSports.com will take you there. It seems like there's a new one added every day. I'm not going to lie to you. Like every month we get an email. It's like, hey, you're now on Pocket Casts. And it's like,
I
oh,
don't even,
sweet.
Didn't even know that existed, but thank you.
Cool. So if you're listening on Pocket Casts, comment
you.
somehow. Reach out because that's just wild. I don't even know anybody uses that. But anyway, we have our Week 9 NFL predictions to get to you here.
I won last week.
Yes, you did win. Finally gaining traction.
I'm getting there.
You're finally getting traction.
There. 3-5.
Only 2 games out. 2 weeks back for you. So, yes, Week 9 predictions, every pick for every game. Here we go.
Of course, we'll start with the Thursday night game. The Texans are somehow 1.5-point underdogs on the road at the Jets.
That's crazy.
Thursday night. I am absolutely taking the Texans. I know it's more of your team rather than mine, but I mean, we know they're a better team than the Jets. I don't think that takes a genius to see that.
I didn't think so. So, yeah, I'll take the Texans. I don't know if Vegas knows something that we don't. Like you mentioned
That's
that when
why
we were
I'm
talking
like,
about it for bets.
Stay away from. I'm staying away from the line because clearly there's something that we don't.
It almost
know. I don't
seems
know.
too good to be true. Like Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. And I mean, I know Houston hasn't been great the last 2 weeks, but come on,
yeah, that's crazy. Cowboys at the Falcons. I'll take the Falcons. I get the better team at home. I don't even know what I'm getting in the Cowboys. And there's kind of that I don't know, feeling or trend after you play a physical team like the 49ers, like the Lions, like whenever the Steelers and Ravens meet. Sometimes you lose the next week. You're just beat up. You're exhausted. I'll take the Falcons to win.
Yeah, I'm going Falcons as well. There's nothing that I like in Dallas that would lead me to pick them. So
yeah, Raiders at the Bengals. Bengals are a better team. The only interesting part about this is the line. If you're going to look at this game, maybe the Raiders plus 7.5. But for me, it's a stay away. I'll take the Bengals.
The Bengals are the clear side. Yeah,
I think they're going to come out a little bit pissed off after they got crushed by the Eagles. I think they're going to come out with a vengeance.
I mean, you'd have to. You have to. It's. You have to go now for Cincinnati. Like, there's a thing that's starting slow. You can start slow, but at some point you have to figure it out.
That's what Joe Burrow said. He's like, we're going to have to win at least 7 of our last 9, and that this is one that you would circle that you have to win.
Yep.
Commanders at the Giants. If the Giants weren't on a rest disadvantage, there's an argument like Commanders come down from a super emotional game. They kind of come back down to earth a little bit, but I'll take the Commanders.
Yeah, Commanders. There's just not enough talent in New York. Like, there's not enough talent.
I don't trust the quarterback. I don't trust the defensive line outside of Dexter Lawrence. I don't like a ton of what's going on there.
There's nothing good.
Speaking of a game I don't want to watch, the Patriots at the Titans.
What a riveting matchup.
Good Lord. You're taking the Titans, which I don't blame you. I'll go with the Patriots because if either one of us are dying on this hill, I don't think we're going to be too upset. This is one of those where we look at each other and we're like, these teams are so bad. Let's just go opposite so we have a split.
Yeah, what's Tennessee's favored by what, 2 or something?
3 right now.
3, okay. That makes sense.
I would go Patriots. It doesn't really matter. They're both bad teams. I just think at least I saw Jacoby Brissett do something good. I don't really know what did the Titans do anything well?
Show up.
Sure. Yeah, they show up every week. Broncos at the Ravens. Ravens are a better team. I'll go with them to kind of, again, come out off of a loss and play really well.
Some of these don't need much explanation. This is one of them. I'll take the Ravens.
Second split here. I'm going to go with a big upset. I'm taking the Dolphins over the Bills. This just feels like one of those spots where Josh Allen, about every 3 to 4 games, has a stinker. It's a little bit closer than we would have liked it. I think Tua, second week off of the injury, is going to shake the rust off even more. I expect the offense to play much better in Miami, and I expect one of those Josh Allen games where he throws a pick, has a fumble, kind of some accuracy issues. I think it's close. I think Buffalo's a better team long term. Just one of those games. Like, look, Buffalo's not going to win every game. They're going to be favored in almost every game from here on out. They're not going to win all of them, right? So I think this is going to be one where they get upset.
My thing is, we have seen the Bills just trounce the Dolphins, even when Tua is perfectly healthy and the Dolphins have a great scenario, and it's like one of those seasons where you're like, oh my God, they might come out of the AFC this year. So I'm going to pump the brakes. I don't think it's going to happen yet for Miami. I do think they'll return to some sort of normalcy, but I have the Bills this week.
Saints at the Panthers, another split here. I did it last year. I picked the Panthers one time, and I nailed it. I'm going to pick them again here. I like the Panthers at home to beat the Saints. they're getting 7 points. So in terms of betting, I would take them obviously +7, but I like them outright. I don't know who's starting, whether it's Andy Dalton or Bryce Young. Bryce showed a little bit of hope last week. I think it's probably going to be Rattler or Jake Haener again for the Saints. I don't like either of them. I'll take the Panthers at home.
I'm glad you have the stomach to do that, but I just don't. I can't in good faith pick the Panthers. I'm going to go ahead and take the Saints.
Oh, I got the stomach for it. I got it. I'm ready to go. Chargers at the Browns. Get this. This
is crazy.
The Cleveland Browns. Another upset. You kidding me?
So what do you see there? Other than Jameis Winston being the quarterback now.
Well, see, I don't like the fact that I'm getting a worse quarterback, but there's an argument that at every other position group I'm getting the better team. I'm getting a better offensive line even with the injuries in Cleveland. Receivers, they're both just barren of talent. They're both just bereft of talent on both receiving cores. I'm getting about an equal defensive line. It's a toss-up. In terms of a defense as a whole, every major stat category would point to the Browns being the better defense. So I'm taking the Cleveland Browns, especially at home, cross-country, 1 o'clock game for an LA team. So it's like a 9 a.m. game for them. Or no, I'm sorry, 10 a.m. game for the Chargers. I'm going with the Browns.
I'm going Harbaugh and Herbert to be the better coach-quarterback duo here. I will take Los Angeles. Even though I don't really love them right now, I'll take them to win tight against Cleveland.
Bears traveling to Arizona. I'm going to go with the Bears. I feel like I'm getting the better quarterback.
Yep,
I don't
Bears.
love the coaching staff, but I like Caleb Williams a lot.
I am 100% getting the better quarterback in Chicago.
I like Kyler, but I think it's a toss-up for me, but I'll take the Bears slightly.
Caleb Williams way over.
Finally,
Kyler.
You're on the Caleb Williams bandwagon.
Yeah, when it comes to Kyler.
You'd have him somewhere around 5th, 6th in the league?
Yeah, probably like 12th, 13th, yeah.
Oh, actually, I'll take that. Jags at the Eagles. Thought for a second about it. I'm going to go with the Eagles.
Eagles as well. Trevor Lawrence, what's he going to do?
I think he'll have a good game. I just don't think the defense. The defense is Swiss cheese. So I'll take Trevor Lawrence to have a good game. If I had to bet, I'd take the over on Trevor Lawrence yards because they're going to get down and he's going to be throwing the ball over the yard. But yeah, I think it's going to be like a 42-35 game. Like it's just they're going to be able to stop anybody.
Okay.
Lions at the Packers. I'm going to take the home team. I'm going to take the Packers being at home. Lions just coming off a trouncing of the Titans. Could they be feeling themselves a little bit? I do worry if Jordan Love's going to be fully healthy. I think they're going to kind of muddy it up. They're going to run the football. It's an outdoor game, indoor team going outdoor. I'm going to go with Jordan Love. Did you know that he is tied for the league lead in touchdown passes despite missing like 2.5 games? I mean, he is that guy. I'll take Jordan Love in the Packers.
He's good, but he ain't Lions good. The Detroit Lions have looked so good. They won our best costume. So, I mean,
most detailed, yeah, yes. Basically best, yeah.
That constitutes a win right here.
Fair enough. Rams at the Seahawks. I'll take the Rams. I thought for a second Seahawks have kind of had their number, especially when they travel up to Seattle. But the Rams are finally healthy, right? You have Kupp, you have Puka Nacua. Their offensive line's getting healthy. I'll go with the Rams.
Yeah, you're getting your pieces back. The boys are back. You finally have weapons. Stafford is fantastic. They're going to win. That's Rams.
Where would you put him in the league right now? Little sidebar.
Stafford?
Yeah.
Top 5.
I couldn't agree more. I'd put him somewhere around 4 or 5. Colts at the Vikings. Vikings are a better team, and especially if they're starting Anthony Richardson. If you're a Vikings fan, it's crazy. You're almost hoping they start the more talented quarterback.
Yeah.
Because Joe Flacco will be much, much better.
He'll win you more games
so
than Richardson.
If you're the Vikings, you're hoping that they start Anthony Richardson.
Is Kean Crop dodging our show just because AR-15 ain't turning
He
out?
may be. I don't know. He actually said, thank God I'm actually busy because I know it's just going to be a crap on Anthony Richardson session. And I'm like, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And finally, the Monday night game, Buccaneers at the Chiefs. I'll take the Chiefs. I think it'd be interesting if the Bucs had their guys healthy. If they had Godwin and Evans, that's a close football game because the Chiefs haven't been playing all that well.
Yeah.
If they have their full arsenal, it's a closer game than I think people would want to admit, but I'll take the Chiefs.
I agree. I will take the Chiefs here.
The Bucs getting 9, that was crazy.
That is crazy.
That's nuts. I don't like that.
No. Run us through the splits there.
I have the Patriots, you have the Titans. I'm taking the upset with the Dolphins and the Panthers. You're taking the Bills and Saints, respectively. And I'll take the Browns and Packers also on an upset. You're taking the Chargers and Lions, respectfully.
Some good splits.
Respectively, sorry.
You got to catch up now. I mean, it's...
Have to.
I feel like
what is it in individual numbers?
24-14.
Jesus.
So you need to catch
up. I'm about to get 5 right here, so no worries.
Okay.
Feeling a 5-0 week.
There it is. You know where else 5-0 week?
Bets on a budget.
Bets on a budget. Guess the 5 best spreads of the week, around the league, best we could find. Let's go.
So we're actually going to start with some dumpster diving. I know you like New Orleans, but Carolina getting 7 points at home is way too many points for a dirt bowl.
That is
right. This is a mud bowl, dirt bowl of a dumpster diving type of game. There's not going to be a lot of points. Both the offenses suck. In fact, both the defenses suck. We don't know if the coaches are any good. We think that these teams are probably going to tear it all down and restart. So why am I giving an entire touchdown to Jake Haener? Jake Haener from Fresno State. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I'll take Carolina at home to at bare minimum cover, but I think they're going to win outright.
Okay. I mean, I like that one. It's just, that is a lot of points. That's a ton.
Too many points. Let's go with Atlanta minus 2.5 versus Dallas. Now, we got screwed on the hook last week with Chicago.
And you're betting Atlanta again.
I'm betting Atlanta. I'm ready to get hurt again. But I like the number. So we bet 2.5. We bet 2 games at 2.5 last week. We got screwed on them. Obviously, well, we didn't get screwed on one. Cincinnati just flat out got destroyed.
Yeah,
the Chicago one, we got screwed on the Hail Mary. They're up by 3. I said they can cover by 3. They can win by 3 like most games do, and we're still covered. We got screwed on the Hail Mary. I'm ready to get hurt again on both Atlanta and on both the number 2.5. I'll go with Atlanta minus 2.5 against Dallas. I don't like anything Dallas is doing, and I like Kirk at home. When Kirk's comfortable, not against a team that has a good pass rush, he's really good, and we know Dallas can't rush the passer, so I'll take Atlanta.
Quote of the day, I'm ready to get hurt again. I'm betting Atlanta.
I'm ready to get hurt again.
There it is.
Miami plus 6.5 at Buffalo. I know you like Buffalo. I'll take Miami outright, but 6.5 is way too many points for a divisional game.
I agree.
The last 3 times Miami's played in Buffalo, 2 of the last 3 it's been decided by 3 points or less, and the one time was decided by 7. So it is a close football game. I'll take Miami plus 6.5 at Buffalo.
I'm taking the Bills to win that, but I am taking that cover right there. That just makes sense. Like you said, divisional game, and Tua is coming back. So I think the Bills will win, but it's going to be at least competitive.
Yeah, Chicago plus 1 at Arizona. We like them outright, so why would you not take the point? It's a pick'em game. If you're going to take them plus 1, you might as well take them outright. But again, we only do spreads, so Chicago plus 1 at Arizona.
The Bears.
And then finally, the Sunday night football game. Minnesota getting 5.5 versus Indianapolis. It's a team that has lost 2 difficult, tough games in a row in Minnesota.
I like this one.
I love this bet. A good team with a good coaching staff, a competent quarterback, coming off 2 really, really tough losses. I get the rest advantage on my side. Minnesota played on Thursday last week. Rest advantage on my side. They're at home. Indianapolis has to fly. I know it's not too far of a trip from Indianapolis to Minneapolis, but I'm taking Minnesota at home to cover the 5.5. Feels very 30-21 to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my prediction on the score there.
I think even more of a blowout.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you thinking, like 31-17?
Like a 35-15, 35, something.
Wow, 35-50. That's an interesting score. I like it. I'm with it.
Weirder things have happened. This is a
Weirder
weird game.
things have definitely happened. Let's
This is
run
a
back
weird game.
through 'em. Carolina plus 7, Atlanta minus 2.5, Miami plus 6.5, Chicago plus 1, and Minnesota minus 5.5. We have 3 dogs and 2 favorites.
Yeah. Guys, good bets on the board there. As Tim said before we started things off, make sure you're following along. We are betting at an insanely high clip in the 60% range, well above the sharp line. So, guys, thanks for sticking around. You're our best followers if you have made it to this point in the video. We are at the end here. As you know, we will be back next Thursday. We are going to go over all of the Week 9 action, predict Week 10, and start peering into that second half of the season as we get up to that. So, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And that was The Issue.